I've been inspired by threads lately, and this episode is a direct result of that. I asked a question recently and got an overwhelming response about what it actually looks like to shed the good girl archetype and what we don't miss about being the good girl. I'm going to take you through some of the responses as well as share some practical tips for letting go of the good girl, especially as you make your way through this holiday season. I'm your host, Lori Lisai, human design teacher and midlife coach, here to help you use human design to shed others' expectations and be who you came here to be. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to Midlife by Design. I've got a short and spicy episode for you today where we are talking about deconditioning the good girl. And this episode was inspired by a recent post that I made on Threads. And it got such a crazy response that I, as a generator, am responding because the topic needs to be talked about even more. The intention here is to create a celebration of women who are tapping into that inner wild woman, featuring real stories, little snippets, and then also some practical tools for actually breaking free from some of these societal norms. So the first thing I want to talk about is, what is deconditioning? I've used that term before on the pod, and I want to just make sure that everybody understands what I'm talking about, which is this process of unlearning all of the societal, the familial, the cultural expectations that have been piled on top of us that don't align with who we truly are as human beings, as women, as midlifers. And human design is a tool that helps us to see where that conditioning lies, where the root of it is. And it's one of the reasons that I love human design so much as a tool. For example, you can look at your energy centers and see which ones are defined versus which ones are not. And if you have places where you don't have definition, there's oftentimes conditioning that happens there. And don't get me wrong, there can be conditioning when you have a defined center. But the first place to look is in your undefined centers. So, for example, if you have an undefined emotional solar plexus, then people-pleasing might be a real challenge for you. That might be something that you find yourself or have found yourself doing a lot throughout your life. Or if you have an undefined G center or identity center, that's the diamond in the middle, then you might find yourself seeking external validation, needing other people to say, oh yeah, that's totally you. Because the truth is that you are a bit of a chameleon and you can be all kinds of different people. And I want to just share a quick little story about my own deconditioning journey and my undefined head and ajna, my mind, which gives me the ability to see many different perspectives. And in the past, the conditioning that I've taken on is this feeling like, oh, well, I end up wishy-washy, or I end up oftentimes being able to see both sides of the story. And so then I can't be strong in my convictions. And that's just not true. When I'm fired up about something, it's really hard to change how I'm feeling. However, there are lots of situations where I have felt like I should have been more convicted about something, or I should have had a stronger opinion about something, or I should have known the answer to something when I just didn't. And this is an example of a place now where because I know this, can give myself some grace and understand that it's just conditioning. So I'm going to just read to you the thread post that I made, which was, women who have embraced your inner wild woman in this perimenopause phase, what is something you do not miss about being the good girl? And some of the examples that women shared were just freaking amazing. And I wanted to take some time to just shout those out because they were such beautiful examples. So the first thing I want to talk about, since we mentioned people pleasing, is this comment where a woman said, I don't miss pleasing others. I'm in my selfish era. And one of the fun things that I've done is looking through these comments, just taking guesses about some of the elements of their design. And to me, this one says, okay, maybe this person has an undefined heart and finally is moving into this feeling of like, I'm going to be selfish and I feel really fucking good about it. The next example, this woman said, I stopped being who I think others want me to be. Let that sink in for a second. She said, I stopped being who I think others want me to be. That sounds to me like an undefined G center and somebody who is looking for validation, and in doing so becomes a different version of herself that she doesn't even necessarily like or doesn't feel aligned. So I loved that one. This one came up a couple of times, which is this theme of masking. And this woman said, I don't miss biting my tongue or masking. And this is the idea of literally hiding behind a mask and pretending like you're kind of playing a different role than your actual self. And biting your tongue, this is classic for throat centers, right? And your voice and suppressing your voice. So if you have an undefined throat, it can be really challenging sometimes to feel like you want to get a word in when you're in a social situation because you feel like you have to contribute something in order to be seen or in order to be recognized, in order to be validated. And what your undefined throat center is saying is actually you're here to amplify other people's voices and just sit with the silence and let it be okay while you really ponder if you have something, worthwhile to talk about. This next example is a woman who said, quote, I stopped caring what others think and embraced my sensual side. Hello, sacral energy. And I think what I commented back was something along the lines, the paradox that we have to carry as women, where we have to be the good girl, but when it comes to in bed, we have to be sexy and, a seductress. You can't talk about being both. You can't really talk about liking sex, because if you talk about that, then that means you're slutty or you're trashy or something like that. And this comment, there were a few about embracing their sensuality and sexuality. And I think this is really about living in alignment with that sacral center, which is about joy. It's your life force energy. It's what fuels your desires. And allowing yourself to get in touch with that, to open it up, is a really important practice in terms of coming into this wild woman archetype. The next one was, quote, I don't miss shaving, makeup, or performing for others. And this is just such a reflection of the bullshit that we have to deal with as women sometimes, where we can't go out looking like, we just rolled out of bed. We have to shave, or some of these other societal norms that we feel like we have to continue or uphold. And listen, if you like those things genuinely because they make you feel good in your body, that's one thing. But if you're doing them because you feel like you should, or you feel like you have to fit in, then that's another thing. And so this is really about your ability to tap into who you are and feel like you're living authentically according to the energy that you bring to the table. And if that energy loves to be dressed up and, shaven or whatever, then great. But if not, then fuck it. You don't need to be doing those things. All right, let's talk a little bit about some quick practical tools that can help you decondition. First thing is I'm going to just give you a couple of journal prompts because these are useful things to just think about, or if you're listening to this and you're out on your walk, you can hit pause and just ponder. The first one, where in your life are you still playing the good girl role? Are there any areas in your life where you're still doing a bit of people pleasing or feel like you're, on the other extreme, letting yourself get railroaded? And how does that feel in your body when that happens? And what is one thing you are ready to stop doing because it doesn't feel like you, because you think you're falling into that people-pleasing role? So those two questions: where in your life are you still playing that good girl role? And then what's one thing that you're ready to stop doing? And the word ready doesn't mean that there won't be a bit of fear involved, or it doesn't mean that you won't shake in your boots a little bit. However, if it's coming up when you're writing about it, then it's worth paying attention to. It's worth giving it a try. And in terms of some ideas for daily practices, practice being the key word here, I'm encouraging you to practice saying no to things that don't align with your design. So, for example, if you are a non-sacral type, a projector, a reflector, a manifestor, then really guarding your energy and understanding that you don't have consistent access to that life force energy. So you just have to tune in really carefully to the energy that you are bringing to the table. And some non-sacrals have lots of motor centers going, so they will feel like they have lots of energy, but it does tap out. So practicing saying no so that you can create space for yourself to know how much you're bringing to the table and to not burn yourself out, especially at this time of the year. The second practice is back to the journaling idea, which is journaling on your undefined centers. So thinking about what in your body graph chart are your undefined energy centers, and where might you be seeking validation or approval or living up to other people's expectations within the type of energy of that center. So if it's the head at the very top, where are you feeling like you have to have the answers or figure things out? If it's the mind, where are you feeling like you have to have a strong opinion about something? If you have an undefined throat, where are you not leaving space for silence? Where are you feeling like you have to be speaking up or saying something just because it feels like your turn, or it feels like if you don't say something, then people aren't going to recognize the gifts that you have? If it's your undefined G center, where are you literally taking on other identities that are not serving you? If it's your heart center, your will center, where are you pushing through, pretending that you have willpower that you do not? If it's your emotional solar plexus, where are you taking on other people's emotions and acting like they are your own? If it's your sacral, where are you pushing through with life force energy that you don't have? If it's your spleen, where are you letting fears be amplified and stop you from doing things that you're excited about them, except you've got this fear on repeat? And then if it's your root down at the bottom, where are you feeling pressure to do, go, just like this pressure to accomplish? Okay, so journaling on your undefined centers, I think, can be really helpful. And this is all work that we will be doing at the Wild Women by Design retreat. It's the kind of work that's going to help you to dig deeply into who you came here to be and how to tap into your inner wild woman so you can really, truly return from this retreat experience a changed woman. Tapped into that wild woman, so you have stopped saying yes. You have stopped people pleasing, and you just don't feel the same way about it because you know so deeply who you actually are. what energy you bring to the table. This is what the retreat offers. And by the way, if you haven't seen on our social media yet, we are doing a killer giveaway right now. It is insanity, and I invite you to participate in it. I am so excited for it. The prizes we are giving away are just fucking incredible. So it just warms my heart so much that we are able to do this for you. And so check us out on Instagram. If you go to my Instagram, you'll be able to enter there. So I want to just wrap this up, a really quick episode today, encouraging you to take the first step in your deconditioning journey. This is it. Learning how to say no, learning how to be, quote, selfish, taking some of these women's comments and helping them to fuel you on this journey. I'm going to read you a couple more that were just so good. One response was missing out on doing things in general, conforming to society's view of what I should or shouldn't be doing. I hike alone now, and it's freeing. What a beautiful thing to not miss that anymore. I do not miss missing out on doing things, right? Saying no because somebody else's expectations that hold you back from doing what you want to do or being who you want to be. Another example is caring about what others think of me, what I wear, and honestly, even what I say. I really appreciate the vulnerability on some of these posts. She said, but I'm ADHD and have nearly lost the ability to mask. So I'm not sure if I have any other options at this point. And honestly, again, talking about coming into this wild woman phase and the midlife phase where we just don't give a fuck, we sort of lose the mask through our own natural evolution if we are willing to let that happen. Another thing that a responder said she does not miss is silencing my voice. Still battling the societal conditions on that one, but my voice is getting louder and louder and louder. And so this is my point about taking just small steps each day. You have opportunities to practice every single day. So taking those opportunities instead of shying away or feeling like you're going to be judged, in the end, we only have ourselves to answer to. So when you think about that, what do you want to be able to look back on in your life and say, I did that. It was hard. I had to set some boundaries. I had to say no. I had to shed the good girl, but it was so fucking worth it. And then one more that I wanted to share was this one. This woman said she doesn't miss having a dysregulated nervous system from doing things and being around people who make me uncomfortable, who make her uncomfortable. So this is, I think, a good comment to end on because we are in the holiday season. And this is where you may have set boundaries earlier in the year that are now coming around to be tested in a very real way. And if that's something that you have done, first of all, I'm sending you so much love, respect, and I'm just really proud of you. And I hope that you are proud of yourself for taking that step that you felt you needed to take earlier this year. I know that in and of itself was not easy. And now that we're at the holiday season, a lot of times those boundaries can be tested because, especially if it was with your family, you are being asked to gather with everybody again and make nice. And listen, there are ways that you can still participate if that really feels aligned to you. But that's the key, is questioning, does it feel aligned to me? And then if it doesn't, having the courage to set those expectations again, to revisit that boundary and say, it's actually still in place, and here's why. And then moving on with the holiday that you envision for yourself that really lights you up and makes you excited about the holiday season. So that is all I have for you today. It's a short and sweet episode because it is the holiday season and we're all crazy busy. So I am celebrating you shedding your good girl and letting your wild woman come out to play this holiday season. Listen, it's a crazy busy time of year, so thank you so much for listening to Midlife by Design. I hope that you're inspired to shed your good girl and start getting curious about your wild woman this holiday season. It might piss off some people, but as long as it feels good in your heart, remember that you are the only one you have to answer to in the end. As we close, I'm sending you the strength to release what no longer serves you, the joy to fill your days, and the clarity to fully be who you came here to be.